Okay, hello everybody, Tristan here, and today we are back with the second Forbidden Mountain tier list. Now, I did one of these back ages ago, must have been 6 months, 6 months now. Now we have episode 10, season 1 is completely done, and it's interesting to see how my opinions have changed. So, yeah. These are just opinionated tier lists, bear in mind. I'm not going to agree with you on everything, so that is completely up to you. I would love it if you left your opinions in the comments below. Be fun to discuss. If you want to further discuss, you can join the Discord, which I will leave a link to in the description. Make sure to go and watch the series if you are a new viewer, just seeing this episode, seeing this tier list video. Go and watch it. It's on Digital Cartoons channel. Yeah, it's great. I voice act Tom, the leader of the villains, and yeah, that's pretty much going to be it. Apologies if I'm really quiet, 'cause my mic is not amazing for recording, but you're going to have to live with it for the time being. I think that's about all I had to say. We're going to be doing characters, episodes, and locations in this episode. I didn't do locations last time, so that's cool. Those are all I'm going to be doing. If you want to skip ahead to a specific one, do that, I don't mind. I'd appreciate if you watch all the way to the end, because it helps with the algorithm, helps to get some new viewers in to the community, which we always like to see. And yeah, just hope you enjoy. Start off with the episodes tier list. We're just going to rank all of the episodes. We're going to go in chronological order, which also, for once, is release order. So that's always nice. We got 10 episodes, conclusion to season 1, pretty epic. You probably already know how this tier list is going to play out. Pretty obvious which episodes are better and which are worse. But we're going to do it anyway, in case we have any new viewers, which would be nice. But if we do, please go and watch the series. My toaster bills won't pay themselves. I get a cut of the earnings. I want money. I need to pay my toaster bills. Please help me. Anyway, right, we're going to get started. Sorry, just having a mental breakdown. Right, we've got episode 1. This is an iconic episode, obviously, being the first episode in the series. We had the explorers going up the mountain, the whole mysterious thing with, like, oh, the last person to hike this mountain was never seen again, build up the tension, and then Oliver falling off the cliff, catalyst for the whole series, started off and very tense, set up the series well. So I'm going to give it a B tier, because I think this is just a solid episode. It's nothing amazing, nothing bad, just solid. Storm of Mystery, as you can see in the thumbnail there, we've got more action, and there was more action. Oliver woke up on a boat, had another note from Mysterious Boy, saying he's lucky he survived, and not to ignore this note. Tristan and Isaac met up with Isaac S. Mysterious Boy sent Green Tea Kid and Blue Tea Kid to, like, look for explorers or whatever. I actually kind of forgot what they were doing, but something happened. It was very tense. Nothing ever came of that scene ever again. But yeah, Oliver met Michael at the end of the episode. Good ending. A tier. Very, very good episode. Solid. It's like the default for good episodes. Now we have an explorer's destiny. Oliver and Michael got to the island. They met Mysterious Boy. Tristan, Isaac, and Isaac S walked. Yeah, they pretty much walked. I will say nothing really happened in this episode. I honestly think episode 4 and episode 3 could have been lumped together, and it would have been better. But it is what it is. It was early on in the production, and yeah, it was good back then, but now it's just a bit boring, especially compared to the more recent episodes of the series. So yeah, it's gonna have to take a seat here. Episode 4. I think in this one, Oliver climbed a waterfall with Michael and Nathan, and there was some character development there. I honestly could not tell you what happened in this episode. At the end, I think it was at the end of this episode that Tristan, Isaac, and Isaac walked into the cave. So that was an ending. Was it a good one? No, I really don't know which between this and episode 3 are worse. I can't decide, but these are kind of like the default for not so great episodes. They're still fine. They still add to the story. They still progress the story. They're just nothing immense happened in them. Like, if you were to ask what episode is the most forgettable, probably episode 4, because who remembers what happened in it? I don't. But yeah, then we've got episode 5. I'm going to put this in B tier above episode 1, because in this episode, we had a pretty cool kind of event with Tristan, Isaac, and Isaac in the cave, and they found the paintings and stuff. You had the introduction of Will, who was quite intriguing at that point. And then the thing that really pushes this episode up, Oliver, Michael, and Nathan didn't do anything this episode again. But you had Joe's introduction, which was awesome, very menacing, very good cliffhanger, and just changed the tone of the series really by adding in villains. And yeah, that's what pushes this episode up over episode 1. Next up, we have Veiled Secrets. In the last tier list, this was the best episode. I rated this as the best episode. Now you'll notice it's an A tier, not an S tier anymore. That's because we have some better episodes. But yeah, this was the last episode that was out when I ranked the previous tier list, I think. Or it might have been episode 7. But anyway, I'll stop digressing. Veiled Secrets, you had... Honestly, I don't really know what happened with the explorers in this episode. Because it's not really all that relevant. Isaac read a map, I think, and they were like, oh, there's a temple at the top of this mountain we gotta go to find the crystal to save our friends. So yeah, that gave another goal for the end of the series to show how it was actually going to build up and climax. But then you've got Joe sending a tracker, on some mail to the explorers, and we got to see Green Tea Kid cowering in fear, which was good because that's kind of who Green Tea Kid is, and he's a good character. And that also built up Joe a lot more. It was pretty cool. But then we get the real top part of Veiled Secrets that makes it one of the best episodes, which is Tom's reveal. Tom is the character that I voice. Probably a bit weird to hear me talking in my normal voice, but yeah, his introduction was really menacing. If you it's pretty much Joe's introduction, but because you had in episode 5 Joe's introduction, we were like, whoa, there's a villain after the explorers, that's intense. And then in episode 6, it's taken to a whole other level, because you find out that there's someone above Joe, and he is menacing. Tom's reveal is probably the best character introduction of the series, I think. So yeah, that's really what pushes Veiled Secrets up. We also see AJ, and we see the influence Tom has over AJ, which sets up that whole plotline really nicely. So yeah, Veiled Secrets definitely deserves its spot. Then we got episode 7, Rise of the Syndicates. This is probably... I actually don't know here. I think it might be worse than Crystal of the Green Sea, to be honest. But yeah, good episode. It was certainly worth watching, worth the wait. Yeah, this episode kind of built up the actual action, and it was the start of the end of the series, really. It was yeah, this stuff's happening. Obviously, the main focus in this episode was Tristan and Isaac getting captured by the Syndicate. We got the introduction of Mr. H, which was really cool. Got some good comic relief there, which was needed. So yeah, that was nice, and Tom was even more menacing this episode. And at the start of the episode, you also got Will and his fear of heights. Nice little, not particularly relevant, but nice nonetheless, character development. And you also got Isaac showing his kinder traits, which more character development. Oliver, Michael, and Nathan did nothing. Again, Oliver, Michael, and Nathan have done nothing up to this point in the series, really. That whole group has just been walking, and there's been a bit of conflict between Oliver and Michael. But, yeah, you got a new outfit kind of piece for Tristan and Isaac, which was nice. Got the headband to match him up with Oliver. That's pretty much it. It was a good episode. Solid. But until the end, nothing really major happened. It is kind of boring up until that end bit where Mr. H is brought in. And then we have episode 8. This is where the series really starts picking up in terms of story. I actually wrote the backstory, or I gave the initial suggestion, and Tristan went on and adapted that and made it a lot better. So credit to him for that. This was an episode we didn't get to see the Explorers at all, apart from Tristan and Isaac, because they obviously were in the Syndicate headquarters, which is one of the best locations in the entire series. We got introduced to that. AJ and Mr. H got a promotion, which was not all that relevant, but it didn't subtract anything from the series. We got the main thing. We got probably still the best line in the series, Lost Are We, which is taken directly from Ninjago, but it's still so good. This episode really solidified Tom as even more menacing than he already was. I've used that word a lot this episode, this video. But yeah, it's true. You had the backstory of Tom. You got the Explorers developing a bit more as well. The backstory of Tom is really what the main purpose of this episode is. Introduces the village, which was really nice. Yeah, that it had some really key development into the lore of the Forbidden Mountain series and what the crystal actually did and was. Really dark episode as well. Yeah, just really changed the tone a lot for the series. Then we have episode 9. You're probably going to be interested to see where I put episode 9, because I do think it was very, very close to episode 8, but I'm actually going to put it above it, just because of Tristan's scene at the start, because I think we really saw an improvement in Tristan's voice acting, and he actually showed his character more in this episode, which was good. We got the backstory of Nathan and AJ, which was the key thing in this episode, and that was good. Nathan's power surge thing was awesome, and continued to be awesome in episode 10. AJ and Nathan's backstory was really sad, so that's always good. More darker stuff. You got Oliver and Michael, bit of development. They actually kind of did something this episode. Isaac was, Tristan making that sacrifice of Isaac getting knocked. That was pretty cool. Just overall a really strong episode. And then we've got episode 10, the episode that came out 2 days ago. Where am I going to put it? I wonder. It took 3 months to come out. It's not going to be anywhere below there, is it? It's not going to be anywhere below the best episode. If it took 3 months, you had... Right, I'll recap everything that happened here. We had Tom, Tristan, and Joe searching for the temple. The setting in this episode at the start was just so good. It really built up that tone, made it really intense. We got a good bit of development for Tristan staying true to his word and saving Tom there. We got more Tom development, being like really obsessed with the crystal. We got Joe starting to like question Tom, which is just foreshadowing for the later in the episode. Then we got the Crystal Keeper, another great character. He was introduced in the end of episode 9. He was good in this episode with the riddle. Then Tom finally finding the crystal was a really good scene. He was like, yeah, he's nuts about it at this point. He's really obsessed. Then you had him betraying Tristan, which was a great scene. Really developed Tristan's character more. You had AJ and AJ freeing Isaac, which was some good development. Good bit with Mr. H. Good joke with the popcorn. Develop Isaac a bit more. All of the characters got really good development in this episode. Then AJ like standing up to Tom was good. Then you had the reunion of the Explorers and Nathan and AJ, which was a really good scene. You had Tom using the crystal and revealing Joe's like backstory, how he brainwashed Joe, which was a great thing. Joe attacking Tom was more great development, and then we see that there's actually something between Nathan and Joe, which will be explored in season 2. Can't say anything more, but there was something there, which we see in episode 10. And Tom just literally throws Joe out of the building, and just casts him aside, which was an amazing scene. AJ versus Tom, yeah, it was great throughout this episode. Nathan versus Tom was also really cool. It showed that Nathan is the only one who can really match Tom. And even then, Tom still like had control over that situation completely. He was really calm throughout. Great bit of development for both Nathan and Tom there. And then Tom just destroys the temple, knocks Nathan unconscious, which is where Nathan is at the end of this episode. He's blacked out, so we don't know what's going to happen to him. Tom like strikes Tristan with the crystal, and gives him like the scar, which is, we don't know what's going to happen with that, or I do, but you guys don't. And then AJ having to choose between getting the crystal and stopping Tom or saving Nathan was good as well. And then the final scene was probably the best scene of this episode. You had Will challenging Tristan about like how he helped Tom, which was really good scene. You had the reunions and stuff, which were all great. And then you had Joe, Not If You Have Me, which was great. And then you get to see AJ really like against that. You don't really see that, but that's what you can interpret. It will be really interesting to see how that all plans out in season 2. In terms of will the Explorers trust Joe. And then the credits scene for this episode is one I must discuss as well. It was pretty cool to see all that stuff. But that is the episode tier list. I'm pretty sure everyone will agree with at least the top tier, and then past that it's like debatable. But the top tier episodes are top tier 100%. I'd honestly say we can move all these episodes down and just have Nightfall of Vengeance in its own tier. But then I also wouldn't say like episode 3 and 4 are D tier episodes. So I think this is a good tier list. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Let's have some discussions on the episodes. I'll leave a link to the Discord in the description. We have great discussions about the series on there, and you can suggest ideas. So it's pretty chill over there. But yeah, very excited to see if season 2 can top Nightfall of Vengeance with any of its episode, and I honestly think it will, because I've discussed some ideas. Me, AJ, and Tristan have really discussed ideas for this episode and the whole of season 2, so it's going to be good. Okay, so next up we're going to have the character tier list. I think this is the one everyone's been wanting to see what I think are the best characters and worst characters in Forbidden Mountain. So, yeah, we've got the whole of Season 1 concluded. I think I have a pretty good view on all of these characters now. Obviously, I know some stuff about how these characters are going to be in Season 2, but I'm not going to be including that or like letting that affect anything. It is just going to be from what you guys have seen in Season 1. So we're going to start off with Tristan. Would have put him at like A tier or B tier even. But episode 9, where he has that confrontation with Tom, was really good. And episode 10, he just excelled. Tristan's voice acting in those 2 episodes was much better, and it helped convey the character a lot. So he's going to go in the S tier. Isaac is going to go in the A tier, because I really liked his voice acting throughout has been really good, actually. Gets overlooked a lot, but it's really good. And in the past 2 episodes, his character has really shown why it's his character and how it's different from the others. Oliver was a character I had at S tier last time. So it may surprise you that it's been in B tier, but rewatching the episodes, Oliver's the comedy relief character, and everyone has some fondness for Oliver. He's probably one of the most popular characters. But the comedy scenes with Oliver just aren't all that funny. Like, the running gag of him falling, like, the circular structure of him falling off the cliff and then him falling when the crystal brings him back for episode 10. But it just... Yeah, he falls off the cliff. That's about, like, the best thing Oliver's done in the series. And that was in episode 1, so it just shows that his character really hasn't developed like the others have through the series, and I get that that's because he's a comic relief character, but even then, the comic relief just isn't that good, so it'll definitely be stepped up in Season 2, and that's something I've brought to Tristan's attention, but yeah, he's staying in the B tier for now. Michael is pretty good, and I do like the dynamic him and Oliver share. I think that's a really good element of his character. But again, like Oliver, he hasn't developed through the series, which I think is a problem mainly with them just not being too crucial to the story. They've been off on their own, away from the Syndicate, which will really drive the other characters forward throughout the series, and they were just off on their own, walking for the entire series pretty much. So they had some good moments, but I think that Michael is honestly, yeah, he's not as iconic either, and I think he hasn't had any standout scenes really. So as much as I love Michael Kirk, and as good as the voice acting is, I can't really put up the character any higher. Isaac, I'm going to put Isaac in A tier. Because Isaac has some character, which I think we mainly see in his scene with Will, where he stays behind because Will's afraid of heights, and also when he wants to go back to save Tristan and Isaac. I think these are the 2 scenes that really actually develops Isaac, because we see that he's really caring and will always put like his friend's safety first. Knocked over my box of chocolates. But yeah, that's something we see very frequently with Isaac, and although it was mainly developed in those 2 main scenes, we've seen it throughout the series. So yeah, he's actually got some development, which is why he's above Michael and Oliver. Then we've got Will. Oh, Will. The character with no development. It's very sad to see. But, although Will has development, I'm now realising Will actually has development. I just made that statement. That would have been fair in maybe episode 8, because 6 through 8, Will didn't do anything. He just appeared, said, yes, I agree, and then said nothing, kind of. But in episode 9, we see him trying to, like, argue against Isaac. We see that he's very logical, very smart, and he's like, no, we can't go back to get our friends because we'll probably just get captured as well, and we need to find this crystal because then we can get them back anyway. And then at the end of episode 10, I think that's the reason he's in A tier, is that we see Will questioning Tristan about his choice to help Tom, which was a really good scene. So that really helped to show that Will is this real logical voice, and he's like, he doesn't care as much about his friends. He's kind of like a lone wolf, which it's definitely a theme we'll be exploring in season 2 because Will does need more development, more than most characters in the series. So yeah, Will be fixed. Will. But yeah, he's actually had some good scenes recently. So sorry, Oliver and Michael, but you're on your own there in B tier for a bit. Right, Nathan, very interesting character to rank. Everyone loves him. He's the most popular character. Top 3 most popular characters are probably Mr. H, Oliver, and Nathan. And Nathan is loved for a reason. He's very mysterious in the first half of the season, as per his name, Mysterious Boy. And we don't really see him develop anymore until episode 9, which is where we really see Nathan's growth as a character with his backstory with AJ. Which is, I don't need to explain that, it's just a great piece of character building for Nathan. Nathan's voice acting is also really good, and you can really feel the character in his lines. Likewise with Tristan, that's why Tristan is also S tier, so you can feel the character when they say their lines. And episode 10 even further built up Nathan. He didn't have as much personal character development in this episode, but it was setting up for some great development in season 2, and he was just awesome. He's just pretty cool that he's got that power and stuff. So yeah, Nathan's just a bit of a badass, really. Not much more I can say. He's one of the best characters, and will remain that way, probably until the series ends. So yeah, there you go, Nathan's top tier character. Then we've got Tom. Tom was at the top of the tier list last time, I think. And will he's going to be a top tier character. That's undoubtedly, you don't have to question that. But is he going to be above Nathan? You guys wonder, don't you? I'm going to make you sit through the discussion before you get to find that out. But yeah, we see Tom. His introduction is probably the best in the series, as I said with the episode tier list. He's very menacing, has so much influence over the other members of the Syndicate and the Explorers when he meets them, and Nathan. He's probably the most pivotal character, because the whole of season 1 kind of revolves around his actions. Well, the second half anyway. His backstory is great. I actually think Tom's backstory is better than Nathan and AJ's because it does set the groundwork for Nathan and AJ's. Not as emotional for certain, but probably more interesting, to me at least. Maybe that's just bias. But I am trying to be objective here. Yeah, they're both great though. But back to Tom. Episode 9, he was still really good. Still really menacing. He's pretty much the perfect display of what a villain that's not really a villain should be, because he's shown as really evil to the other characters, but then to the audience we know that he's not actually that evil. He does have good cause for what he does, and he's just become a bit power hungry, in terms of wanting the power of the crystal. But yeah, he's a great character. Nobody can deny that. Episode 10, he was awesome. We sort of got to see his actual like power. He was clearly above the others. Yeah, he was just really cool in that episode. The final scene with Tom, he got some real development. You kind of have to look deeper into that scene, but you can hear like the betrayal of his other syndicate members has really broken a piece of him. And we see him like hesitate for a moment when Tristan says he's never cared about anyone, but obviously like Tom's main like priority is protecting Joe, which will be heavily explored in season 2. Through subtle details, obviously that's a key thing with season 2, but yeah, you've got a lot to look forward to with Tom's character. And as of season 1, there you go. I'm putting Tom above Nathan. Nathan's awesome and all, but he just doesn't have that same level of consistent, subtle development that Tom has, which I think really pushes Tom to being one of the best characters in the series. You'll see who the top 3 are soon, but yeah, that Tom is good. Tom is very good. Then we've got Tom's like closest person, the one who's always been attached to Tom. It's Joe. Joe started off as when Joe was introduced in episode 5. I think right as soon as he was introduced, he became the best character. Because up to episode 5, there really was no character in the show. It was kind of just story walking, but Joe really excelled. He was really intimidating them. Then we see someone's above him, which actually added to his character. We see his like loyalty to Tom in episode 7, and then in episode 8 he gets a ton more development with him like questioning Tom about why he destroyed the village and stuff, and we see their relationship building. Then in episode 9 we get a little bit more from Joe, not a whole lot though, but it's fine because in episode 10 Joe is really better. We see him questioning Tom more, which foreshadows a later bit in the episode where Joe get like the blast from the crystal knocks something around in Joe's head and he gets his memory back, realizes that Tom actually brainwashed him. Tom's reasons for doing that will be more explored in the next season, but yeah, he gets brainwashed and attacks Tom, and he's like finally against him, going against the person he grew up with, and it was a really nice piece of development. And then at the end we see Joe willing to help the explorers defeat Tom because he knows what Tom's doing is wrong, which he kind of always has, but he's like now accepting it and going against him. So yeah, Joe has developed really nicely. Do I want to put him above Tristan? No, this is hard. He's not going to be above Nathan. Ooh, I think he's going to go above Tristan just because he has that little bit more backstory. Right, now the last character that everyone recognises as one of the best characters in the series. Where is he going to come? Where is he going to be in the tier list? Definitely S tier, everyone knows that. Now, I'll tell you, last episode, at the end of last episode, and leading up to episode 10, I had Nathan above AJ, because I thought Nathan's just cooler. That was pretty much it. They have similar levels of development. They're very similar in how good they are as a character, but Nathan's cooler, right? So that's what my thinking was in putting him above. But then in episode 10, Nathan doesn't really have any essential character building moments where he develops, whereas AJ really does. Like, Nathan sustains the amazing character he already has, whereas AJ builds on that. That's why AJ's above Nathan. Yeah, AJ's just great. Him sticking up to Tom in episode 10 was great character building, shows some of the most emotion of any character. Voice acting is the best in the series. His lines give him so much potential to build on that. he's just a great character, really. His backstory is awesome. We show from the moment he's introduced on the series his relationship with Tom and how Tom is kind of controlling him, and that's shown perfectly through AJ's voice acting at that point. And it just builds that he doesn't discard any of those qualities. He builds on them. They are essential to his storyline. They develop and they build into the climax of episode 10, which was just great. So now the question is he better than Tom? And as of now, as great as AJ is, I'm going to say that Tom is better. Now, I'm going to explain my reasoning. Tom has more of a presence throughout the series. Episode 6, AJ is great. I'd say it's similar, apart from the Tom's, it's more stunning. It's more whoa. But AJ has great presence in that episode because he instantly shows what his character is. Episode 7, equal. Neither character really had a massive deal of presence. Episode 8 was obviously Tom. Episode 9 was obviously AJ. Episode 10, they were equal. They were fighting and stuff. That was both important. But I just think Tom's impact on the other characters is more than AJ's impact on the other characters. So that's the only reason I'm putting Tom above. Any of Tom, AJ, and Nathan could be the best character. But for now, I'm going to say Tom. So there's my reasoning on that. I felt like I really had to explain that because it was a really hard decision to make. Mr. H, I put him on B tier on my original list, I think. I'm going to put him on A tier, just below Isaac, for now. Because he's definitely funnier than Oliver, right? The comedy we get out of Mr. H, while it could still be improved on, it's actually good. It's really good humour, for the most part. He's got some good scenes here. His interactions with the other characters, while nothing mind-blowing, he doesn't have a major role, they're just good. And his backstory with Tom and stuff, and him being the last sea monster, we're going to get more Mr. H content in Season 2. But yeah, he's just a good character. Nothing more to say, really. The Crystal Keeper. His introduction was also one of the best in the series. Really cool. Really, mysterious. Fits the original kind of vibe of Forbidden Mountain. And then we have Episode 10, which built him up more. Added to that mystery. We still don't know anything about him apart from that he's the keeper of the crystal. So yeah, his design's really cool as well. Voice acting's good, really fits the theme. Funny fact, the voice actor of this character is also called Tom, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, he just works. He just fits the theme. Green Tea Kid, we're gonna put at the bottom of B tier, because he's not an important character really. He doesn't do much. In the bits he is in, up to episode 6, he serves as a kind of tool for the other characters to interact, kind of, for Joe, and all that. He has a cool... His line in episode 1 is probably the best line in episode 1. It was because it really built up the tense and dark tone of the series, even in those more light-hearted episodes. And he's just a good recurring character. He is what an unimportant character should be, really. But I can't put him above any of the important characters because he isn't important. But yeah, he's really good. Also, the voice acting's really good as well. Blue Tea Kid, I'm going to put in D tier, because while his scene in episode 2, when I first watched Forbidden Mountain, before I got the role of Tom, I thought, whoa, that seems really cool. This Blue Tea Kid seems really intriguing. I want to know more. But he hasn't been in any other episodes, and I think that's due to some issues with the voice acting and stuff. I don't really know entirely, but he hasn't been in any other episodes. So due to the fact that he only has 2 lines, I can't put him any higher. Then I'm going to talk about the blue sea monster and Tom's parents in the same kind of thing, because they're pretty equal. They're both very influential to Tom, and as such, the main storyline of Forbidden Mountain. So they're pretty pivotal characters, but they don't actually have any effect on any other characters in the series. They don't, because they're obviously dead. They don't have any role and impact on the characters in the episodes we see. So I can't really put them higher than C, but due to the effect they have on Tom, you can analyse a lot about these characters. I'm going to put him in C tier, leave him there, and the blue sea monster is slightly better because he does a bit more. But yeah, that is the tier list. Certainly going to be controversial, I think, especially at the top with Tom, AJ, and Nathan. So we'll see how that plays out. But this is just my opinion, really. Okay, now on to the final tier list for this video. The Forbidden Mountain locations tier list. This is the one I didn't do in my last video, but it should be a pretty interesting one. Not nearly as in-depth as the others, not as analytical or anything, but just, it will be cool. So, pretty much just going to be basing these settings on visuals, tone, and events that took place in them. Although that's kind of like, you'll get what I mean. The base of the mountain, now this is admittedly a very boring location, and we only saw it like twice, but we did get the flashback with Nate and Mr. H here, which added a bit to it, and it's one of the most iconic locations. So I'm going to put it in A tier for now. It's good. It's a good location. Then we have the, like, kind of mountain lake. This is where we first see most of the characters in one, like, area. Pretty cool location. Iconic. Nice visuals. I'm going to put it in A tier. Then we've got the cliff. This is probably the most iconic location, since it is the one that starts the whole series with Oliver falling off the cliff. Nothing else really to it, but you know, I am going to put it in A tier at the top, just for it being the catalyst for the series. Okay, now we have the docks, I guess, the pier where Michael went fishing and got swept away. Visually, this is a really nice location. Sets the tone of like the storm and really well and stuff. Not amazingly iconic, but I honestly think it's better. Do I? Yes, I think it's the best location out of all of these because it's just visually really nice. Then we've got the lake. This is a really cool location. We get to see Oliver and Michael meet. Oliver on the boat, and yeah, it's a really good tone, really makes Oliver feel isolated, so that's going to go in A tier as well. Then we've got the hut. I like the black and white, like, chalkboard kind of style when the lights were out. It's a cool location, nothing major happened, but it's there. I like it. Then we've got the tropical beach. Nothing much really happened here. I quite like it visually, it's quite nice, but the rest of the tropical island's probably better in my opinion. Then we have like the plains. It's just the plains. Nothing else to it. D tier. It's not bad, but it's just bland. Then we've got the waterfall that Oliver climbs up. Looks visually nice, and get a bit of development there as well. The bamboo forest, pretty iconic to me at least. I don't know if it is to other people, but yeah, it's got nice music playing there as well. Good tone. It's just a good location. Tropical island. It's just visually nice, isn't it? It's just, yeah, it just looks good. And Michael, Oliver, and Nathan were there for most of the series. Then we've got the cave, with like the paintings and stuff. This is a good location. Kind of segues the like theme of the series into more like mystery, and you get what I'm trying to say. So yeah, it's a good location. We get to introduce to Will and all that. The river, yeah, we'll put it there. It's got the same visuals as the tropical forest, and it's got a more iconic scene with soaking and that, so that's cool. Then we get this place. It's like a dark, rocky plains. So we're gonna put this A tier because it sets like the tone with Joe really nicely. There's nothing really more to say. It just fits the tone and it's good. We've got another plains down here, so same thing as the other plains. The trap, not the only reason it's in B tier, despite being an iconic location, is just that it's a bit bland visually, but it's still a good location. Then we've got Tom's office. That's going to be our first S tier location, or just the syndicate headquarters, because we also have the hallway. Yeah, this is a really iconic location. The tone is fit perfectly here. Yeah, I don't really think I need to explain why this is a great location. It just is. Then we've got the village, the most important location to the series. It's just good. The tone's set really well, and it's also very prominent through the series, which I think is why it gets its S tier role. And the visuals, like, they work perfectly for both this and the syndicate headquarters. Then we've got like the crystal cliffs. I like the crystal rocks and stuff, but I don't know what they do. Like, are they like the crystal of the green sea ore or something? I don't really know. It looks kind of nice. It's a bit bland, so it's just getting the C tier. It's pretty basic. Then we've got the sacred cave. It's good location. Some nice little storytelling elements. Expands on the lore quite a bit more, so it gets B tier. Then we've got like the Peak Lake, right at the top of the mountain. We get some development here. It looks pretty nice, but I can't really put it on B tier. It's just a C tier location, nothing really much to it. And we've got the tropical coast. Did I already say that? Well, one of them's the tropical beach, the earlier one, and this tropical coast. One of them has rocks, pretty much, from episode 9. Yeah, this is good. Visually nice. We get a cool event with Nathan's flashback here. It's just bottom of B tier, but B tier nonetheless. Then we get the like top of the mountain, the peak. The tone is just perfect here. That's what puts it above and beyond. The tone is like perfection, because it's just so dark and eerie and menacing, and you just know that the series is coming to its climax as soon as you see that like lightning from the clouds. It's really cool. Then we get the temple, another S tier location. From the outside, it looks visually really cool. All of it just looks and functions really well. All the areas we see inside are really cool, with like the cave kind of bit in it. It looks kind of like a cave. It's like it just all works. And Joe smashing out the window, and then when we see outside of it and it's snowing, and that just looks so good. The destroyed temple is really good. So if I were to order these in S tier, I think the village, just because it's so important. Tom's office, because it's like one of the most prominent things, and then the temple because it's just so visually good and it's pretty important as well. So yeah, that's the locations tier list. Hope you agree. This is a very opinionated tier list, more so even than the last two. So there you go.